in the UK, for instance, they've tried to change that. They have what they call 0-hour contracts. So in the UK, an employer can get me, I work with him for today, and I'm not sure that I work for him too, but I've earned. I'm not saying this should be the ideal, but I'm saying that as a country, we need to focus on ensuring that we get our young people into work. And that's why I say, as a country, we need to also encourage entrepreneurship, because government cannot create enough jobs. Big factories cannot create enough jobs. We must support our young people, if they can, to create their own jobs. And we must create those conditions for those, because our challenge is if 2 out of every 3 business collapses in Uganda, and we are running after them for tax on day one, that's a challenge. So we need to look at entrepreneurship as a very viable route. And then we also have this issue, and I want to categorize it very fast. We have what we call the unemployed, uneducated. Then we have the unemployed, uneducated, unskilled. Then we have the unemployed, they are educated, but they are unskilled. I went to university, I got a degree in zoology, but I cannot offer skill in a business. So as we try to resolve these issues...
And you're not doing zoology, you're doing trade.
I'm doing trade. No, I'm not even started doing trade, for instance. So as we discuss these issues, I see, and President has, I think, a committee that has been looking at trying to address the curriculum and so on. The curriculum, yes, that's a long-term measure, but what can we do in the short term to skill some of our educated people so that they get into the workplace? So for me, what I'm saying, we must adopt a multi-pronged kind of approach that looks at entrepreneurship as a route, that looks at investors. These investors who come, many countries insist. For instance, in India, you cannot set up a retail shop. In South Africa, I cannot set up a spaza shop. But here, as an investor, I can set up anything. Yeah. See? So we must also look at our investment act and ensure, if you come in as an investor, what businesses should do, which businesses should be ring-fenced for locals. See, so for me...
I've also seen some investors, in the mobile trade working with...
No, they are doing everything. If you go downtown, some of them are managing restaurants and stuff. Some of them are gatekeepers. No, so we need to also be serious. If someone says, I'm coming in as an investor, they must have resources, they must have technology, they must have... Okay. You must bring something. You can't just come and you're competing with locals to run a retail shop.
Thank you, John. Let me go to Odrek Rwabogo before Lydia. One of our topics was Odrek Rwabogo. So we started with the Labor Day. So very soon we shall go to the topic Odrek Rwabogo. And I already told Ssemujju that you are coming. So World Labor Day, Odrek, thinking about the dire statistics being shared on this table.
So I didn't listen to the speeches on Labor Day, but what I'm doing is disruptive of the conditions that that he's talking about. If you take let me just give you the fish sector. The fish sector, when you do 1,000 kilograms, which is a ton, you create 200 jobs. And those 200 jobs come from maize and soya, which you put together as fish feeds. And so Uganda is aiming at 1 million tons.
My producer here is telling me, raise your voice a little.
Like shout?
Not shout, raise the voice for the recording.
Okay. How is it now?
Better.
So I was just giving an example of fish. And that's one sector.
I should have said Star Cafe. I hope you didn't come with your chapati in the pocket. Everything is safe here. So you
good.
Yeah.
So you use Star Cafe.
Yeah.
Good. Good. So 200 jobs come from 1 ton. For you to make a ton, you need fish seed and fish feed. And I don't know if you know about this. We have 2 fish feed plants in Uganda now with a capacity of 100,000 metric tons. For you to produce a kilo of fish, so I hope that people don't get disturbed by numbers.
No.
Okay, so for you to produce 1 kilogram of fish, you need 1.5 kilograms of fish feed. Now, what we are lacking now is the fish seed. The discussion is around how do you deal with tilapia and Nile perch and catfish and make sure that you gain much more kilograms faster from 0 to 300 grams quicker than how we've been doing this. If you take that sector and multiply it to 1 million tons that government is looking at, you will consume 800,000 metric tons of maize. And we're taking all our maize to Kenya, no harm intended. Kenya is our trading partner, but we could make fish feeds out of that. You need 600,000 metric tons of soya in order for you to, so those two figures, 800,000 metric tons of maize, 600,000 tons of soya give you 1 million tons. You can't do that unless you have entrepreneurs in the value chain who are transporting the fish, who are doing the fish seed, who are doing the fish feed. And therefore, for 1 million tons, you create 200,000 jobs. And for a country that has 41,000 square kilometers of freshwater fish, freshwater, this is much, much simpler to do. So it's a little bit of intelligence, and it's a little bit of honest politics. It's a little bit of institutions that we're really trying to get to work, that we can deal with this labor situation. Uganda does not have a labor issue because it has many unmet needs. Uganda doesn't have unemployment. It simply has lack of good thinking on how to get each sector do what it's supposed to do on time. Does that help you, Oscar? I didn't know I was going to speak about labor, but that's part of,
Yes.
of what I do in exports, because every ton you sell outside, you attract patents, you attract skill sets, you attract education, you leave that sector different than the way you found it. That's why I have targets on markets, targets in revenue, targets per sector.
Interesting. I just thought, last week, Fonopondo laughed at me because I buy fish and I keep it in the freezer. And he said, you're a very strange man because he buys from the lake and he eats. But anyway, Lydia, World Labor Day. You listen to the speeches.
Lydia was there. I was in Nakapiripirit at the national function for the International Labor Day. So I did not only listen to the speech, I witnessed the National Day, but I've also been interested in the programs that are working towards bringing women to workplaces and trying to see how they can improve and support the household income campaign. So it's about work and it's about income. Majority of Uganda's women have largely and historically been in the informal sector. So we are tracking statistics. And if you may, we began with the market. The market areas in Uganda are in 2 sectors. There's the formal sector, that if you go to every city or town in Uganda, there is a market, including here in the city. Some were really makeshift, but government through robust programs, they've been able to put up good condition vendors markets. If you go to Wandegea, if you go to Kalere, if you go to Safi area here in Nachivuo, and outside town, I come from Bale City. We have a new market that was constructed. It's up and running in the city. It has blended well with the USMID urbanization. Go to Arua, Lira, Mbarara, Soroti. So my focus is on the women in the workplace, and in terms of numbers, in terms of their income, in terms of getting to the formal sector away from the informal sector. We also have the informal markets. You have the Baganda quite or these periodic markets. At every Tuesday, there's a marketplace here. Those are areas that bring income to people, but also offer employment or income opportunities for people. Now, the statistics that Honorable Ssemujju is talking about, and my brother here, are largely those that wear jackets in the morning and go and sit in an office, and they will earn at the end of the month.
Some.
But there are those that go out to work, and at the end of the day, they will balance some book and see whether they have made a profit or not, and that's for the day or for the month. Or we also have this whole sector that is in circles. You deliver your goods, whether it's milk every day, they record it in a circle. At the end of the month, they calculate your money and give it to you or whatever it is. So,
You know, Lydia,
labor in Uganda is largely in two forms. There's the formal and the informal sector. On this table, normally, the statistics are about the formal sector. You are on a government payroll somewhere, you're a sub-county chief, you're a teacher, you're a member of parliament. Teacher is also liberalized, actually. There's the informal and then the formal. But at the end of the day, really, where I sit, our campaign is so much in the informal, and I zero on trying to see that I work with those that are helping women to have an income that will therefore give them.
So just before you leave the microphone, when you start your campaigns, are you ready for the poverty you shall see for all those people like Walugembe was describing?
But I live in this community. I'm not a Ugandan today. I live in Nagoya, I live in Imbale, I've just come from Chiriandongo, I was in Kashari. I live in Uganda. I'm a known community person. So you're not telling me that I am going to jump from Capital Gang and go and pay some money and call the poverty. No, I live in the community. I don't live a lie. So I know where the issues are. I know the struggles we have.
I'll come to
I know where the struggles are. I know those that we need to deal with the mindsets, even of elites like yourself, to see how we are going to have a chain that lifts people from where they are progressively, stage by stage, to where I want them to be. And it's not a one of that because it's a campaign. So no, me, I live in the community. And those who are listening to me know that I'm saying what I am.
Thank you.
Exactly, yes.
So we're sending that microphone to you. So you now share with Agatha, because now we're moving to the topic called Odrek Rwabogo.
No, I just wanted to supplement.
Yeah, get the microphone.
I walked in late, so I know that you use job numbers selectively to achieve an objective. So I don't know about Walugembe, but
he was quoting from the census.
So, but you should look at human beings are multidimensional. We are not unidimensional. Look at the number of households. In the last 10 years, we've grown from 7 million households to 10.5. Of those 10.5, 3.5 are the ones that are outside the income bracket. Look at a household which has four people instead of focusing on an individual. Now, of those 3.5, that's why you have $400 million under PDM. PDM has reached now 2.7 million of those 3.5.
It has not.
Well, you check the numbers.
You check, you see.
Hold on.
The census puts at 800,000.
Nganda, listen.
These are government numbers.
The
800,000.
3 point, no, I have.
That's in the census report.
But I have latest numbers.
Those are your numbers. The one that are officially government's 800,000. That's in the report.
So I have amount of money that has gone in every district, in every parish. So please, just be a little humble.
No. I am giving you your own figures.
So let's
you respond.
Yeah,
But Ssemujju also got his 100 million. So he's a district.
Parish.
He's a parish.
Just let me finish.
Yes.
The 3.5 million households correspond in such a strange way with the 3.5 million households that are headed by women. And, that tells you something, that perhaps poverty levels are to do with responsibility at home. So when I say 3.5 million households, 3.5 million households led by women, and 2.7 now reached, the point you're trying to make is that each of those four people have some sort of enterprises. some sort of selling beans, some sort of selling fish. And so look at jobs in a much more broader sense than the graduates. I know we have 10 million young people, 18 to 30. I think that's what we have. Those 10 million people, I know how many of those have businesses. So, but I just wanted to supplement her, just for you to know that it's not just exports I'll speak about, but I know that government efforts on trying to pick the lowest bottom to join those who are in an earning bracket, who are elite, who are in suits, it should be applauded, even if some disagree with the government.
I have Nora Oraga on Twitter says facts from the Statistics Uganda National Population Census says Uganda untapped potential is 5.2 million older youth are not in employment, not in education, and not in training, kind of supporting what Wargembe was saying. 39.6 of them are in Greater Northern Region, West Nile, Acholi, Lango, Teso, Karamoja, and Bukit D, as in 60% of older youth are in that category of no work. You know, Moses Biarahanga also comes and bamboozles us with statistics the way you are doing. But let me start, because we have all been ready for you. I don't know how much of exports you will speak about, but let me first give you an opportunity. Starting with PASID. PASID.
Good.
What is it and what does it do?
So listen, Oscar, you come to places because you have a sense of respect, and you also feel that your voice is being diluted, and people are telling lies, and they don't know about you. And so it is leadership that my reading of leadership is that you walk ahead of the people you lead, cast a vision, hard as it is, and encourage people to stay focused with that vision, but at the same time pull back and work with the people without being infected by corruption or praise. But you stand behind them to see who falls and who stands. That's what I do, and that's what really brought me here, so that I could explain some things, because I'm tired of listening to Nganda and his other
You
groups.
have no option. I am elected to speak every day. So you have to listen to me until I am voted out.
But you shouldn't tell lies. Don't tell lies.
Lie? They have asked you to speak about your export. You are speaking about Uganda. Are you exporting me?
He's allowed to speak about Uganda, but first
let him
get
speak
into
about
it, and then you respond.
You call him speak about export. He starts with Uganda. So do you export me?
But Ssemujju had already told you that I had a lunch with Odrek because of Ssemujju. And every time you were increasing, I said, now you have made the lunch longer.
He says he wants to
but let him
first
present.
So let him speak about his export.
Yeah.
If he wants me to engage in a debate about us, we can have it maybe at the conclusion of the show.
Okay.
So, Nganda, you're a very interesting person. So,
I thank God.
So if you take a look at all the countries that export 50% of their GDP, they have recognized about three things. First, that their domestic market is not significant enough to provide a base out of poverty. And there are several countries that do that. They also recognize that unless you diversify and you do not depend on one commodity, you don't grow. They also recognize that unless you educate your population and you focus on science and support high value growth, you won't grow. And so because of that, they provide low rates of taxes to attract high value technology, pharmaceuticals in their economies. They work with regional markets. They create pockets of excellence. And that word excellence is not just improve. It is firm hold on what you do and do it very well until it now becomes a shining example for all. And that's what we're trying to do under PASID, our Export Advisory Committee. To have a pocket of excellence doesn't mean that your society is okay, that your institutions are okay, that you have all it takes. You simply say, I am how I am. I will focus on certain things and do them very well. And these will improve the performance of the economy. And so, what do we do as PASAID? Huh? Or maybe what do we do as a country? We have too many uncoordinated institutions that really don't deliver in that area of exports. And without coordination, taking a kilo of anything to another market is an undertaking. You have to think of that market. You have to think of how to get there. You have to think of how to package it. You have to think of a number of elements. Huh? We have like single stand farms that we support, government supports outside sectors. Single stand farms don't grow the economy without supporting sectors. And we also focus on the consumptive parts of our economy. These 100 million shillings you hear of MPs, we don't focus much on production. So we create institutions. You said you have coffee.
Mm.
Can I have a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Matthew, just put for me. So what PASAID did is study. Good. Thank you. Thank you. I woke up early, so I
Mm. So
so
as he's taking his coffee,
so
as let him finish.
I don't know how you do a show with Nganda. He's absolutely.
No one had him. You are the only one on microphone.
Can you just shut up for a minute and listen? Eh?
But your microphone is the only one that's on.
Okay.
Mm.
So we took
For now,
13
I've shut
sectors.
you,
Huh?
Hon.Ibrahim Ssemujju, because I've
We-
switched off. Yes. Okay.
We took 13 sectors. Huh?
Mm.
And those 13 sectors, we studied. I think I know the intention. He's just trying to rile me up so that I don't focus. So those 13 sectors include coffee. We added tea recently because of its issues. We have dairy products. We have fruits and vegetables. We have tourism. And we looked at if you filled certain gaps in each of those products, you would have a particular percentage increase. Huh? So I don't have time to take you through those percentage increases, but we arrived at $6 billion as new revenue if you fill those gaps. Huh? And so we took a model, we call it a 4-pillar model. We said markets. Markets give you signals. Huh? And so stop blind trade, conduct basic research on tastes and preferences before you go to a market. Huh? When the research is good, find a way to appoint a trade representative. Huh? Those trade reps are not appointed by government. They are not paid by government. They are relationships we build. Huh? When you find that working out very well, establish a trade hub. Huh? Okay. Now, so when you do that, you are able to, and this doesn't have to be new markets, like the new markets we've opened. It can be old markets and you take new segments, huh? Right? When you do that, the markets demand a certain standard. You have to comply to that standard. Huh? So we haven't had any food safety law for the last 60-something years. Huh? And some members of parliament have been at it, have been here talking about other things. So you have chemicals in food that are in one area. You have animal feeds that are in one sector. You have veterinary medicine. So things are spread all over that you don't have a single strand place where you go. And we are now trying to create a food safety ombudsman. Because without that, you cannot get one certificate that you can blockchain and help young people to trade. But let's assume you have the market well and you have the standards done. And it's not very easy given the environment we operate in, the politics, insults. Now you need the infrastructure. That infrastructure must be multimodal. You need to look at your skies, your lakes, and your land. think larger. So, so we spoke with logistics companies, for example. One company requires, I think it's 200 trucks. They call reefers, refrigerated trucks, to deal with fish, to deal with fruits and vegetables. You got to invest in that. Who does it? So you must find a multimodal way to incentivize people to have boats on lakes. So our Lake Albert, Mwitanzije, for 60 years, we use 15 horsepower engines to take products across and bring products across. So you must find investment in this infrastructure to really lower the unit cost of an exporter. Finally, even if you have the three, right? You have the market, you have the standard, you have the infrastructure. You cannot support companies unless you lower the interest rates, unless you make it easy for people to borrow at less than 5%. In order for you to compete with China, to compete with those who sell to you. Therefore, those interventions require coordination. So a product is produced, there is a farmer, there is Minister of Agriculture, there is Minister of Trade with these institutions, there is Minister of Finance, there is Minister of Foreign Affairs. Who coordinates those to ensure that, you know, just like a bean seed, you
The
can
Prime
put,
Minister.
No. You can have, so when you plant a seed, Oscar, you need to manure it. You need to put it under, let's say, you give it fertilizers, you give it water, but the main elements are not those fertilizers and water. It's how much that seed produces a bean that you sell. The ultimate objective of these reforms is that you help farms, FIRMS, because countries don't compete as states. They compete as companies in those states. And therefore, you must work very hard to ensure that your SMEs really, sorry, I keep coming back to,
It's okay.
I think I just got upset. I got upset with, so.
Don't get upset too easily.
We do not, no.
I gave him time. I invited him, let him go. Go on, Odrek.
So Oscar, some people protect their jobs. I protect my call. I protect my cause. Causes are higher than jobs. People just protect their jobs, but they really don't see that we're in one large ship with different cubicles. So those reforms have given us something interesting. In the last 2.5 years, we have $460 million worth of orders in about 10 to 12 markets. Those markets.
Orders of what?
Orders of coffee, orders of fish, orders of fruits and vegetables, orders of dairy products.
And that's part of your work, because I was going to ask you, what's your output? So you're saying...
So those orders must be fulfilled by people, by companies. Those companies are the ones you help with certification, you help with standards, you help with market entry, you help with export credit funding. Do you want me to stop here?
Yeah,
because I can go on. I can so
that we have some responses. Let me start with Agatha, who is calmer than Ssemujju.
I think
Go to the microphone.
Even Ssemujju has been calm.
Listening and taking notes.
Listening and taking notes.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Rwabogo became patronizing and angry and what, but it's not good for a debate. I would have, appreciated it if you came and said on this day, Ssemujju lied about this and this, and it's a lie, and we will give.
I actually am coming to that.
Yeah, so maybe it was better to start that way. So as taking notes about things you're saying, and for me, my first question, Oscar, is to Mr. Rwabogo is, what's the legal basis of PASID, and what is its budget line?
That's many questions.
So that's one. So the other, he's talking about creating pockets of excellency. And I would like to, in specific terms, for him to enlighten us about what has been done. He said, because of the reforms they've made, but I didn't hear them. You only mentioned things that need to be reformed in terms of markets, in terms of standard, in terms of infrastructure, access to finance. What has your committee done in the last 2-3 years of its existence in terms of improving this? The third, maybe and last question for me is that there are institutions, like he mentioned, that were put in place legally under many laws to do this work. Uganda Investment Authority, Export Promotion Board, Ministry of Trade, and Mr. Rwabogo kept saying they are not coordinated. I would like to ask if PASID did PASID come to coordinate them, or it came as a parallel structure because these are inefficient to be the one to take over? Now, if that's the case, why do we still have these other so many that we spend on and whatever if they were not efficient? I'll stop there for now.
I thought you were also going to pose a question on the coffee and
He has not yet talked about coffee.
I will
yet.
answer, Oscar.
Okay,
I just left out a portion on coffee and lies, which I want to come to
don't
later.
answer just yet. Ssemujju,
Yes.
you're on microphone.
You see, the starting point is that this country is now effectively under family rule. Effectively. Wealth creation, Salim Saleh is in charge. And you see people trekking to the north. Export Rwabogo. And I am happy he's back here because he's angry for no reason. I told him here the last time he appeared that he needed to be cleared by the family to contest for NRM vice chairman. He said no. Was he not ordered to get out? So that patronizing attitude of thinking you're above everybody, so people are there on your mercy. And that's how you walk into cabinet to give lectures. So you want to come to Capital Gang and give lectures. That you need to stop. You are a human being like any other. Marrying from the first family doesn't make you an angel. The starting point is the arbitrariness.
Okay.
I am a member of parliament. My job is to approve government policy, government departments. Every budget that comes to parliament comes with a list of government employees. And I approve them because that's my job. Rwabogo is one of them because I see him on the payroll as a presidential advisor. So the point, Oscar, is that you have a government that they have themselves made ineffective. After making it ineffective, they sit somewhere, they begin criticizing their own government. This country is interesting. You are part of government, you are saying it is uncoordinated, it is ineffective. For you, who are you? Why don't you become the Minister for Trade, a formal institution, and do these things in a formal structure? But you create your own kiosk somewhere because of your relationship with the president. And then you begin looking over everybody. You are the one in charge of export. Coffee, the first time Rwabogo appeared before the committee on the budget, we were in Munyonyi. That time he was vending coffee, this man of Ntungamo. And he said they needed $100 million US. We want parliament that the moment you begin approving this money, you will not come to an end. The first amount of money they took was $35 million US. 35 billion. They came back. I think now as I speak to you, they are at about 120. They are coming for more in the budget that we are processing. You make yourself look like angels. Just Oscar, I don't have to be any expert. Give me the amount of money they are taking, giving it to Ntungamo, and I will do better than Ntungamo. So the point is that export promotion you have, as Agatha said, you have the Export Promotions Board. If it lacks the human resource, why don't you employ it there? Why must it go to the first family? For me, that's the problem. And that's what Rwabogo must be answering. What specific qualification does he have to be the one in charge of export that the people in Export Promotions Board don't have? But two, they have been part of this government for as long as they have been there. The government, they are now criticizing as being ineffective. Do we make the discovery at 40 years that now we have to start afresh with Rwabogo and Mohozi, who is kidnapping Ede Mutwe and celebrating on Twitter? And that's what you're offering to the country. Oscar, these statistics I have given you here are not my own statistics. This country, 46% of the population of Uganda, 60% of the population is in agriculture. 46% of the population are food insecure, either severely or moderately. Is that the work of Ssemujju Nganda? So if I say it here, just quoting your own official government book, so I become a liar. Because the statistics was here, they told you 46% of the population is either moderately or severely food insecure. I told Parliament, and I'll be making a response, this PDM, if you read the report of the census, only we have so far now released 3 trillion shilling. Only 800,000 people have benefited because they are picking one person for 1 million shilling per a household. The analysis I'm doing on budget, Oscar, and when I am done, you will allow me to become to sit where Rwabogo is sitting now as a shadow minister and give you the figures.
Okay. I want you to stop because we're going to stop for a break.
I will because you've given Rwabogo about 40 minutes. He's turned this into a workshop.
So when we come back from break, I'll allow you another 2 minutes. Then John, then Lydia, and then we go back to Odrek. Let's stop for a quick break. We'll come back from the break. Your 2 minutes. Were you reading from your notes, Hon.Ibrahim Ssemujju?
No, I was taking notes when Rwabogo was speaking, thinking that there will be something to respond to, which I didn't find. So I am
creating your own.
I am responding to government official information. So we are about to finish the budget, Oscar. You have about 14 million people in Uganda, because for me, I don't want to quote households, counting mabati and structures. I want to count human beings. That's why I said when you are reading these statistics, have a calculator. They're going to confuse you with the households. If you do your own mathematics, you have about 14 million Ugandans, Oscar, who are poor, people who can't feed themselves. When you are dividing the national budget, people who work for government, the Otagen will put them at 390,000. I saw the president putting them at 480. So you have two figures that you need to reconcile. But whether they are half and half a million, they represent 1% of the total population. When you look at the budget figures, 11 trillion, because they earn 8.3 trillion in the budget. Then the other tenant costs, vehicles, it comes to about 11 point something trillion, which is 16% of the national budget. When you subtract the 27, which is 38%, 27 trillion, 38% of the budget for debt servicing. And then the most annoying thing is that collectively, the ones who earn 11 point something trillion fuel their vehicles to go and inspect about 14 million people who they have given 1 trillion, and they begin asking them why they are not getting wealth. Rwabogo and others, you need to ask yourself, how comes you are in charge of wealth? You are the only one who's getting wealth. People who are in charge of creating wealth.
Okay.
That's why people keep trekking to you for money, physical money now. So the policies of government are ordinarily not bad policy, but the implementation is different. They will come on show here and throw statistics in your face of households, of what and what. The actual people in the villages, Oscar, are suffering. If you read the report, the recent report of the population census, community access roads are impassable. In fact, those who are growing their crops, I think, see, we can't even take them to the market.
Thank you, Ssemujju. Let me go to John.
Thank you. I'll start from the substance. At independence, Uganda used to export coffee, cotton, tea, copper, and grain. If I look at our export performance now, we are still pretty much dealing in the same things: coffee, cotton, copper, gold. We hope oil and so on. So I think the biggest challenge for us as a country is how to transition. And we cannot transition in everything. And I see sometimes the president, because you see, if you've traveled, people want to take their coffee fresh. They want you to grind it when they are there. Now, if you say we are going to add value to coffee, those people don't want Nescafe. They want actual, so it means we have to study each crop and see how best we are going to compete.
I also don't want Nescafe.
Per value chain. Then the other issue is around our export performance. Our export performance has improved. The trade deficit is decreasing. We are seeing an increase in exports to about 789.
How much has it improved due to Rwabogo's work?
No, but it's a contributor. You see, you can't, even if it's accidental.
You say you don't know.
Even if it's accidental.
The question
you
is
see, we must give credit. You see, the point here is that we must, even if I don't like you, but you're good looking, I should be able to say you're good looking, isn't it? So whether or not, we cannot, at this point, we cannot, you're asking me causation. We're asking me causation. Mr. Ssemujju, you're asking causation.
I only have your microphone.
No, you're asking causation. Here we are talking about correlation. Correlation is there's an increase in exports. And Rwabogo is somewhere in that picture.
We will ask him.
The extent of his contribution, I cannot say because I'm not his spokesperson.
Okay.
So what we see is an increase in exports. And we are seeing an increase particularly of exports of coffee, a 22%, almost a doubling of export volumes in this regard. So I would say that we are performing but not performing well. One, we are still exporting raw commodities. Two, we are still exporting to the region. The bulk of exports are going to the region. We are not able to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are not taking advantage of other markets. We're seeing the issues with AGOA and the US market. So I think we need to do more, especially to tilt towards the Asian market. Because what you see from the statistics that we are starting to export more to the UAE and to Asia. So for me, if I was looking at an export development strategy, I would look there. And I'd also say that I help the Export Promotions Board to develop a strategy for export of education services. We must move away from the Trump theory of thinking exports are goods. Because Trump thinks that they have a trade deficit because they have a trade deficit in goods, yet they have a trade deficit in services. So Uganda, we must create a very strong positioning in the services sector. If you're looking at education, looking at tourism is very volatile because for tourism, if you have a political event, if you have this, but we must have position ourselves in certain areas. Is it health?
If you
Is it
beat up
education?
journalists,
To
tourism
ensure,
goes down.
yeah. So there's a bit of volatility there. Now, in terms of PASID and its mandate and so on, I would say this because I'm in the sector, I'm in the private sector, I've seen them evolve. They've done some good work around the studies, because we're working with UNDP on the issue of export readiness and accessing markets, and PASID came in and they've done some studies for some markets. South Africa, I know they did for Algeria and other things. They've also done some trade missions. But what I think PASID needs to do better is to coordinate more with sector actors. Don't operate in isolation, because you see the issue is if you operate in isolation, you don't institutionalize, you don't support the institutions to perform better long term. You can be the star, but at the end of the day, you're not. You see, in Manchester United, Ferguson had to let Beckham go because he felt Beckham was doing very well at some point. It was a disadvantage to the performance of the entire team. So my encouragement to them is PASID, use your convening power to ensure that we have these discussions. And it's actually a good thing, actually, Mr. Rwabogo being in the export. I've spent 20 years, but the level of attention that exports are garnering now is nothing compared to what we've been seeing in the last year. So in effect, it's a good thing that is doing, but I think they can make some improvements and iterations here and there.
Lydia, yeah. Before Lydia comes on.
So Uganda's exports, it's true, have improved in terms of money we get from exports to $8.5 billion currently. Now, those exports, the two main ones responsible for that are coffee
and gold. Correct.
The reason for money in coffee increasing to around, I think, $11.5 billion now.
Yeah.
I mean, $1.5 billion now from 700 million.
Yeah.
Is the global coffee prices
that has increased,
that have increased over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I would
You're saying it is not from our deliberate.
No, that's an assumption. At this point, it's an assumption.
No. Wait, John. Yeah. I took notes and you can respond later. What I would like to know is what PASID has contributed to that. Okay. The gold for gold, it's also
your microphone is off.
it's also now at 3.4 billion from 1 billion about 2-3 years ago, but it is also because the global prices in gold have been going up since 2021. Uganda's exports, the 80% are agriculture. We would like to know what has been done in agriculture to improve or increase both quantity and quality. And he talked about standard, what innovation, research, modern technology, what improves standard. What we've seen is a bottle irrigation, is PDM, people finding one goat, one pig. We would like to know in all this, what has PASID contributed? And it forms part of my first questions earlier. Thank you.
We go to Lydia. Use this.
Lydia, you can use this. Is closer to you.
Yeah. Oscar wants to give you special attention and a special microphone because I think special guest because he said you're a topic yourself.
Yes.
So I am honored to use the Odrek's microphone, although we have a history, but I think now it's a different matter for Oscar. On issues of export, they
put in for him.
Well, on issues of Uganda, positioning Uganda for export has been a very big challenge because every time we make one step, standards come and they take us 2-3 steps, even within the region. If you look at how we are going, Ssemujju, I'm sure you are aware, you've been around when you had we cannot export our eggs or chicken to Kenya, but then we and sugar, and yet we import one day chicks from Kenya. Ken chick is the biggest product in Uganda, but when they bring the chicks from Kenya to Uganda, and we grow them and start producing eggs, when you begin to produce, there's a battle. Then there are bilaterals. So anybody entering into the sector to help Ugandans meet just standards is very important. And we look forward to those entry points, at least for the women in business. I want to really applaud the Private Sector Foundation, where there is the Women Entrepreneurs Association and other groups trying to build the capacity training, but also helping women to put the products that can be exported. That's one. The second one is I want to hear about the Uganda's priorities. We cannot be in every enterprise. What is it that we can brand, grow, and run away with? I want to give an example, Oscar, that Ethiopia has worked on as an African country, and it lingers in our head. When you are landing at the airport in Addis Ababa, you do not smell chocolate. You do not see a lot of chocolates on the shelves. You will see coffee. They will make it a point to tell you that you have entered the land of Ethiopia, and that Ethiopia is known for coffee. And they've even made their culture, everything about them is about coffee. So what is it that we can do for Uganda? We cannot be everywhere. So can we pick one or two products and we really make it, focus it, do research, brand, export, both quality and the quantity. If they say bring so many tons in a season, we are able to deliver. And what does that speak to? It means that we must have a very robust chain. And if you have circles or outgrowers, they deliver on time, they deliver quality, they deliver sizes, including from the garden. Traceability. When the EU passed a law recently about coffee, we were laughing. People are running away saying, how can I register my 10 trees of coffee? But traceability is now a big issue. Where has this product, or where is the garden? Who are the farmers? What fertilizers are they using? What seed are they using? What is the nature of the soil? These are things that are now on the table of markets, to the supermarket on any shelf, that we have not been brought to appreciate.
Okay.
Once it's out there, I'll be the first one to bring my women to train and be able to deliver. So we want to hear about the chains, the quality, the standards, but also to ensure that the quantities are met. If you click for us a market, we should be able to meet the quantities on time, because you don't want a shaken breaking contracts or a shaken commitment.
Thank you.
The market is very sensitive, but we have no choice but to meet the competition. And finally, Oscar, there is the issue of the revolution, the IT revolution. Everything has gone IT, and how much of our country has evolved into IT, to the last person on the garden. Because when talk about Uganda and exports, what comes to my mind, not so much the services. For us, really, we have to harness what we have. We have good weather, we have good soil. What can we get from the gardens? Organic soils to export, even our water. We have fresh water that can produce the blue economy. What is it that we can do from the blue economy? One or two issues, run away with it and change the story for Uganda.
Thank you.
That's what I can contribute.
Jacqueline Arinda of Jada, I'm sure Odrek knows her, says, John says we have increased coffee exports and Rwabogo is among the contributors. Out of the coffee money he helped secure for Ntungamo factory, how much percentage of that has been exported or contributed to the current coffee exports? Moses Biarohanga, OSM, the Kira municipality MP, is saying that the report states that 25 million people are in the category of working age. And according to him, that age starts at 14. Definitely, this includes students, because on average, one leaves university at around 23. So of 25 in the working age, if 9 are employed, doesn't mean the rest are unemployed. And he wants to, let me first inform Agatha that the increase in earnings from coffee are a result of both increase in the international prices and the volumes Uganda is exporting. We have coffee volumes going up. It is because government through OWC gave out free seedlings. Kaunga Masiko says we have 39,000 tourists in Uganda. Kenya has 630. And he sends a long quote here that asserts that maybe Odrek does not even know Chikomando. So But you know,
You see,
if a man
Biaruhanga,
doesn't talk,
no, we will listen.
we need to
Biaruhanga,
give him time to talk.
Biaruhanga wants even to deny statistics in the official government book because they are mentioned by Ssemujju. The national labor policy is 1464. It is not my policy.
Odrek Rwabogo, you've had responses across
So
the table.
thank you very much. I just stopped because I thought I should yield the floor. I hadn't explained a number of things, so now I hope I am able to do. So let's just quickly go to, when I say something, I hope Agatha answers your question, or Nganda, who doesn't want to listen. So when we began this work on 16th of March, 2022, our total exports as a country just outside COVID, after COVID, was $4.2 billion. When we took the 7 to 10 markets where we put trade reps, we conducted some survey and took certain orders, products. The increase between now, I think, and then is more than 1.8. You said 8.5, but the official statistics are around 7.4. So that 1.5 comes from first awareness. So you did not have a market called the Balkans. The Balkans, under then Yugoslavia, signed with us on September 10th, 1963. That agreement was never put to use until July 2023. And we are now going to expand it to cover cocoa, to cover vanilla, to cover cassava. And next week, we have the first shipment of a 20-foot container ready to drink, shelf roasted coffee from Uganda on that market. And so if I take the market of the US, we were very general. So we know we take casein, we take cocoa. So we focused on cities like Detroit. Detroit has ordered, when I say Detroit, it's a city, but we have off-takers there. The first roasted coffee, espresso, ready to drink, 230,000 sachets of that coffee. Detroit was not your market for roasted coffee. We did not have cities like Chicago. Chicago, we have a trade representative, and we know north of Chicago, in a place called Aurora, there's a Ugandan farm, Ugandan US farm with roasted coffee we're supporting. I don't want to take a lot of time per market, but I could go to UK, where you had absolutely zero presence in terms of awareness. See, when I say awareness, when you have a trade rep, they work with local supermarkets. They work with local media. The issue has been that we are not able to get these supplies on time in the right quantities, but I told you what else we're doing to fix that. We didn't have significant presence in Kinshasa. We were in Eastern Congo. Just before the war broke out, we were 50% done on setting up a trade hub in Kinshasa, and hope we can pull it off even with the issues there are. So in each of these markets, Oscar, we have presence, we have teams, we have orders, and we have companies that supply those orders. We think, and we are not working in a market that has data, easy to collect data, but I can tell you when we conduct survey in Lamo, in Omoro, in Lira, on Simsim, and we take an order of 100,000 metric tons, I don't want to mention names of people, we know how much that will go to China and how much that contributes to our net income that wasn't there. So significant focus on exports, on really bringing some sort of compelling thinking and doing an ecosystem. Because you really, when you hear people speak, it's as if this one has all the knowledge to do this. This one, no. Ecosystem thinking means that he who grows something, he who transports it, he who certifies it, he who represents you as an ambassador, he who communicates on social media, they are united around your product and your brand as a country. And we try and work that out. I can mention more trade locations, but we don't have time. So I just need to go to